My top 5 head coaches on the hot seat going into 2026. My number 5 coach is going to be Lincoln Riley. Okay, his seat isn't super hot, right? He won 9 games last season. They went 9-4 there at USC. A pretty solid season, but before that, it was getting a little rough. They can turn that heat right back up, okay? Look, Lincoln Riley, whenever he got hired, he had a really good season. They had 11 wins there with Caleb Williams, a really good season. But since then, 8-5, got even worse to 7-6, but then they went 9-4 last year. So they have gotten a lot worse, and then they got better last year. So really tough to tell where USC is going. But I think the biggest difference wasn't their defense last year. Their defense was improved a lot, but they lost D'Anton Lynn. That's going to be tough to replace. But the biggest reason why I believe that Lincoln Riley is at number 5 and it is hotter going into 2026 is because of that run game last year. They were extremely good on the ground last year in 2025. They turned around that offense a lot. Look, you know Lincoln Riley's offenses. He's known for the quarterbacks. He's known for the really good wide receivers. You look at Caleb Williams. You look at Baker Mayfield. Players like that. Really good quarterbacks. And they have one in Jade Mayava. But the most important thing from last year was how well they ran the ball, okay? They were better at running the football than they were at throwing the football, and that's one of the only times that you've been able to say that about a Lincoln Riley offense before. So that was extremely impressive, and I think it's a huge indication that that program is turning around and becoming something really special. The defense, we just talked about it, got a lot better in 2025 as well. D'Anton Lynn did a really good job there. He did leave for Penn State, but they brought in Gary Patterson. I think he's going to be really good there for that defense. And I think USC is really turning around that team and that program. The culture's turned around. I remember a few years ago, they didn't have enough players to even practice in spring at times, but they got it turned around. They have enough players now. Their defense is a lot improved, and I think that program is really turning around. I think Lincoln Riley has a lot of expectations going into next year. I think the expectations for them should be to at least compete for a college football playoff spot. I think if they go 10-2 next year, even 9-3 again, I think will be just okay. I think they can do better than that. I think they'll be on the precipice of making the college football playoff just like they were last year. Can they make that jump and get into the playoff? I think they have the team to do it. I think they have the coaching to do it. Can they execute to the level of a college football playoff team? We'll see. But I think Lincoln Riley has a lot of good things going on there. But like I said, it can turn up just like it was 2 years ago. People calling for his job. Say if he goes 7-6 again, if he has only 8 wins, I think the stove gets turned up going into 2027. But if he gets like 6 wins or less, he's done. I think he's done there at USC. It's been long enough. He's had enough time. If you win 6 games there upcoming, if you completely fall on your face with all the talent returning next year, then yeah, I think Lincoln Riley will deserve it to get fired. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's a lot of stuff going on there. But the reason why he is on this list is because he can get turned right back up on that USC team. So we'll see. We'll see how Lincoln Riley does going into 2026. But a lot to be nervous about, but a lot to look forward to as well for USC fans. Now the other USC, Shane Beamer is going to be my number 4 coach on the hot seat. Okay, 9-4 in 2024, a really good season, almost made the playoffs if they didn't have a few bad losses there, but they followed it up with a 4-9 season with all that talent returning. Look, you brought back Dylan Stewart, Lenora Sellers, and Nick Harbor. All 3 of those players are going to be really good NFL players. You brought back all 3 of them, and you go 4-9. That's not good enough. That's on coaching, okay? You have to be better than that. You have the talent there. You have to be able to put it together and win more football games than 4 wins. I know you play in the SEC, one of the best conferences in the country. Not going to say it's the best anymore. It is certainly a top 2 conference in the country. I understand that. But 4 wins with that kind of talent is completely unacceptable. 4 wins is around the level of Mississippi State. That's not good enough there at USC. South Carolina I'm talking about, not USC Southern California. South Carolina needs to do a much better job with the talent that they have. Again, it's completely on the coaching whenever you have talent the way that they do and you still don't win games. So lots of stuff to be nervous about there for USC going into 2026, but we'll see how they do going forward. Again, there's a lot to like. There's a lot of talent there. They just haven't put the necessary talent and the necessary coaching around that talent to get them to the next level and to make a college football playoff. But a team that isn't going to go to the college football playoff next year, now we're getting to the coaches that are like, yeah, it's red hot, okay? Luke Fickell. He came in and he wanted to do a complete overhaul of how that offense worked, do a complete overhaul of how that system worked, complete culture revamp. Really, really interesting decisions there whenever he first got the job. But it didn't work. Okay, he went 7-6 in his first year, and then he's only gotten worse since then. 5-7 the year after, and 4-8 last year in 2025. Just not a good few seasons there for the Wisconsin Badgers. You know, Wisconsin was one of those teams that just ran the ball constantly, kind of like Michigan, didn't want to throw the ball. Luke Fickell wanted to change that, and it just didn't work, okay? I think they're going back to what it was there, and I think they're going back to what makes Wisconsin a good football program with getting Abu Sama from Iowa State. He was a really good running back there at Iowa State last year, but I think they need to completely go back to what Wisconsin used to be. Running the ball, tough defense, physical offensive line, smash it down people's throats, do a really good job in the front seven, do a really good job with the front offensive line. That's how Wisconsin has won games in the past, and they need to get back to doing that. They've completely lost their identity under Luke Fickell. Now, I will give Luke Fickell a little bit of grace because even the athletic director there has admitted that they didn't fund the program well enough whenever Luke Fickell got the job, right? They did shoot up to the 15th ranked portal class according to On3 this year. They're doing a lot better of a job funding that team and getting the right players. Like I said, Abu Sama from Iowa State, he's a 4-star prospect out of the transfer portal. He was really good last year, and he's going to be really good at Wisconsin. That's the kind of player that you have to be able to afford. That's the kind of player that you have to be able to pay to win football games in this new NIL age of college football. Not being able to get players like that and not funding the team is what leads to going 5-7 and 4-8 the past couple of years. Wisconsin is a better program than that. Luke Fickell is a better coach than that. He's the only coach to ever take a group of 5 team to the 4-team playoff. That's an incredible job there in Cincinnati. He's a really good football coach. He's going to make it work somewhere. Just not sure if it's going to be at Wisconsin because, 7-6, 5-7, 4-8, that's just not good enough. But if they can fund that program and get some money into that football program, then I think that they're going to do a much better job. And I think that they're going to improve, and you will see improvements off of a 4-8 season in 2025 in 2026. So, again, kind of like Lincoln Riley just doesn't have the results as Lincoln Riley does. He's going to get better, I think he'll get off the hot seat this year, but again, it can fail at any moment like that, okay? Those guys, I'm super worried about. Luke Fickell, we'll see. We'll see about him. I think that they can improve it a little bit, but we'll see going into 2026, okay? And then number 2, these last 2, I don't see a way that they make it out of these this season. Number 2 is going to be Dave Aranda from Baylor. Okay, look, he did win the Big 12 in 2021, and I think that's why he still has his job currently. But he's followed it up, and he hasn't won more than 8 games, okay? 6-7 in 2022, and then 3-9 in 2023. He's on the hot seat going into 2024, but then he makes it a little bit better, okay? They went 8-5 in 2024, but then they fall back down to earth in 5-7 in 2025. So Dave Aranda, he's in a spot where he has to take a big swing. He has to go out and get a really good transfer portal quarterback. And talk about a big swing, okay? They land one of the best quarterbacks in the transfer portal with DJ Lagway. He's going to be really good. One of those players that can make or break a season. Last year at Florida, he broke the season. I'm pretty sure he was injured quite a bit. If he wasn't, then he's just a really bad quarterback. You still saw flashes from time to time last year, but he has to show more of those if Dave Aranda wants to keep his job. Look, I love Dave Aranda. I think he does a really good job there at Baylor. I think he works with what he has there in a really good way. Like I said, he won the Big 12. When was the last time you saw Baylor competing for Big 12 titles? You just don't see that. Dave Aranda took them and won the Big 12 within inches of losing that Big 12 championship game, but ended up pulling it out over Oklahoma State. An incredible game if you guys remember that. But oh my gosh, I cannot talk enough about how good of a game that was in 2021 between Oklahoma State and Baylor. That's besides the point because it has fallen off since then. I don't see a way Dave Aranda keeps his job after 2026. I just don't see DJ Lagway really turning it around with overall worse coaching there at Baylor. So we'll see how it goes. But again, not a lot of confidence in Dave Aranda coming out of 2026. And then the hottest seat in the country, if you haven't guessed it by now, it's got to be Mike Norvell there at Florida State. Look, there's reasons to believe that they're going to get it turned around, but not very many, okay? Again, undefeated in 2023. They won the ACC. Don't know how they didn't make the playoffs. An insane decision by the College Football Playoff Committee. But since then, it has just gone downhill. Okay, 2-10 in 2024. We all know it. We all know how bad that season was. DJ Uiagalelei really fall flat on his face. Not a good season whatsoever. No positives coming out of that. Last year in 2025, there's at least one positive. You did beat Alabama, who was a college football playoff team, but 5-7 in 2025. Not a good record. Didn't even make a bowl game. That kind of stuff is how you get fired if you're Mike Norvell. If Florida State had the money last year, they would have fired Mike Norvell. If Florida State would have landed Lane Kiffin, then I think that they would have fired Mike Norvell, but they didn't have either of those two things. So Mike Norvell gets to keep his job going into 2026 with one last year to try and turn it around, but I just don't see the talent being able to do that there in Tallahassee, Florida. I just don't see a way that Mike Norvell really turns this around. Like I just said, they don't have the talent there. The quarterback play wasn't great last year. Tommy Castellanos wasn't the best, but they do have to replace him going into next year, and that's going to be tough to do. He was really kind of solid last year. He can make a few plays. He made a lot of big plays, didn't make the right plays all the time, but it's just going to be tough, right? They have to replace so much already, and they did bring in the running back from Texas. He's going to be really good, but I just don't see a way that Florida State can get it turned around. I don't see how Mike Norvell is going to be able to keep his job next year. I just don't see it happening. We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, there are some reasons to believe. I talked about it a few weeks ago in the Florida State program spotlight, but this is Mike Norvell's Captain Smith moment, okay? I compared it a lot to the Titanic. You can see it's going down. You can see the Titanic is sinking. And yet the captain, he didn't leave. He didn't run away. Didn't get on one of the lifeboats. He could have. He didn't. He put his hands full on the wheel, gripped it tight, said, I'm going down with the ship, and he sank and went down with the Titanic. That's how I see Mike Norvell in 2026, right? You lose your offensive coordinator. Gus Malzahn ends up retiring, and so Mike Norvell is now going to be calling plays for 2026 again, and I think that this is his putting his hands full grip on the wheel, and if he goes down, he goes down. It's going to be on him no matter what, and he has no one else to blame but himself. I think that's how Mike Norvell wants it, though. He doesn't want to be having the opportunity to blame other people, right? He wants it fully to be on himself, and if it's his fault, then it's his fault, and he goes down with the ship in 2026. But we'll see. Don't think he's going to be able to get it turned around. I think he gets fired this year, but not out of the realm of possibilities will he be able to turn around and win a few games and keep his job going into 2027. We will see for the Florida State Seminoles for 2026.